Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Primetime Crisis Vlogs, The Flash. Today we're talking about the episode Killer Frost. So obviously by the title of this episode, you could probably guess that Killer Frost actually does some Killer Frost-like things in this episode. But unfortunately, she's just crazy, right? Caitlin's just crazy. It's not like Caitlin really kind of becomes this cold, dark person. She just kind of randomly has like an alternate personality, when she uses her powers, where she'll do bad things. At least that's how it comes across, right? Like, it can't just be that Caitlin this one time got really angry and turned bad. No, like, they've established that it seems to literally just be when Caitlin is like all icy, she becomes cold, and that's fine. It's not very interesting, but that's really par for the course when it comes to these CW shows. That's pretty much how they've always handled it. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that are confusing me, that right off the bat, I'm just not sure if they don't make sense or if it's just like some sloppy writing, and ultimately it does. So what I mean when I say that is Caitlin kidnaps Julian at the police station, right? And then when Barry shows up, the one officer says, "Hey, Barry, your friend, you're just the person I was looking for. Your little friend is in trouble, big trouble." And so you don't know who he's talking about, right? Because then he goes on to explain how a female metahuman kidnapped Julian from the police station, right? So you're like, okay, he knows that someone kidnapped Julian. Who is your little friend in this scenario, right? Because no one has any reason to refer to Julian as Barry's little friend, unless they're being like ironic. But I don't think anybody is really aware, besides I forget the name of the police chief, but no one's really aware besides him that Julian's ever really even had an issue with Barry, as far as we know. So I don't really know why and even at the end of the episode, Barry says to that same guy, "Hey, me and Julian are kind of close. You mind if I go in and talk to him first?" When they're at the hospital at the end of the episode. So who is that guy referring to when he says, "Your little friend is in big trouble, Barry"? Is he referring to Julian, who's been kidnapped? Because I just explained that doesn't really make too much sense. Or is he referring to the female metahuman of which he does not know the identity? Which makes no sense at all later on in the episode when Barry confronts Caitlin in that warehouse to save Julian. And literally Caitlin is like, "You hear that, Cisco? Barry killed your brother!" She like yells it. So that like the security cameras can pick it up or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they had a little earpiece, so she didn't really need to yell into the security cameras, but she did, right? So she yells, "You hear that, Cisco? Barry's responsible for your brother's death." And then immediately, like, it just cuts to, there's a bunch of police officers, and they're all like set up over here, and they've got their sights raised on them, and they start to shoot at Caitlin, and then Barry gets her out of there, right? And it's like, did those police officers just sit there and like not hear any of that conversation? Like, they just showed up in the middle of that, and Caitlin was just yelling information. She revealed that Barry is the Flash, if you really paid attention to what she was saying. She was talking to Cisco. She was obviously Caitlin Snow, and they saw her there. How did they not know that that's Caitlin Snow at the end of the episode? Why on earth do they need a witness? Why do they need a witness in Julian to tell them who that was? They were there. They saw that Caitlin had kidnapped Julian and was there with the Flash, and they should have heard her refer to the Flash as Barry. But whatever. And it's really annoying too, because there's an episode in season 1 or 2 of Arrow where Oliver takes part in like a drug deal because he wants to find out like who's selling Vertigo. And even in that episode, like the cops show up to bust this drug deal, and Oliver runs. And then the next day, the cops are at his house, and they're like, "You didn't think we'd recognize you? We saw you at that drug deal." And it's like, well, see, those police, they just, and what's funny about it is like they don't even explicitly show a police officer recognize Oliver Queen, right? The next day, they're just like, come on, you think we didn't recognize you? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's realistic that the cops would be able to just like pick him out who he was, maybe just by kind of seeing him from far away. But in Flash, it's like they see Caitlin and they start shooting at her, and they've heard her talking most likely, but the next day, they're like, who's the female metahuman? And Julian's the only one that stands in the way between them knowing the truth. And that scene really didn't work for me either, because Julian says, all right, I'll lie about Caitlin if you quit. If you just quit your job. And Barry's like, okay. And it's what's so irritating about that is that Julian then goes on to explain, your moral compass is wrong, Barry, right? You're just all about you, and you let your own personal, wants and wishes get in the way of justice, right? And it's so irritating because Julian, you're literally doing the same thing right now, right? Barry does things against, Barry does things that I guess are against the law in a way, but he does them in a way. Julian is pretending to stand on some sort of principle here, and he's like, Barry, you're willing to, subvert justice for your own personal wants, right? That's what he's trying to say. And what's funny is that Julian's literally doing the same thing in that scene. He's making a deal with Barry to quit, and in return, he will keep a secret, right? Barry does the exact kind of stuff, right? It's that exact kind of thing that is making Julian refer to Barry as someone with a broken moral compass. That's what I'm trying to say here. So Julian, it doesn't make sense in that scene. Like, literally, he could not be more of a hypocrite in that scene. Maybe he's supposed to be, but I feel like that happens way too much in the show where someone is being a total hypocrite. I don't buy that it's like an accident, right? Or I don't buy that it's on purpose. I think it's an accident. In that scene, they just literally wrote Julian as everything that he's criticizing Barry for being. A guy that, gets what he wants by subverting justice and truth and hiding the truth and stuff like that. That's Barry. Really, really irritating. At the end of the episode, obviously, we learn that Julian is alchemy. And that's not too big of a surprise. I should just start accepting that the new character they add every season that comes out of nowhere is probably going to be a bad guy, right? We thought that with HR. That was the tease. But then, from episode 1, you're kind of like, oh, does Julian have the potential to be bad? Is he alchemy? You don't know. And, I kind of just, drifted away from that because I thought they were maybe going to do something more interesting with Julian's character. But no, now he is Dr. Alchemy, which, it's fine. It's not bad. Who knows what they'll do with it. I doubt it's going to be that interesting, though, because it seems like he's just kind of crazy and he gets, mind-controlled into becoming alchemy. That's whatever. I should also talk about the opening. I did like how this episode started off. So, just fast-paced, right into it. It just almost feels like a two-parter where, this episode and the last episode kind of go together. And they're connected by the fight with Savitar in the beginning. That was kind of cool. There's not too much to say about it, honestly, but, that happened. But, like I said, Julian, by the end of the episode, he's alchemy, and he's working for Savitar, so we'll see where that goes. It's going to be really uninteresting if just everyone in this season is crazy whenever they start going bad. But that's pretty normal for CW at this point. The scene where Barry tells Caitlin that she can leave if she first kills him, that's a good scene. I think Grant Gustin, that's the guy who plays Barry, right? I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've actually said his name. But he's actually a really good actor. That's something I don't talk about enough, but he's a really good actor. I really like him. I'd like to see him do more stuff outside of the CW. And that's one of those scenes where you really see how good of an actor he is. Not too much to say about that overall, but just that scene in particular was kind of good. I did like the scene where Joe gives his speech about how he's like, look, I don't have the education in science that all of you guys do, right? I just kind of have to accept all of the science that you guys tell me, right? I just kind of have to accept the world as you guys explain it to me. And he's like, but every time I do that, I have to go against my gut feeling. And I loved how he had that little scene with HR where HR is like, next time your gut tells you something he's like, next time your gut has an idea, I think we should follow it or whatever he said. And I really like that. HR is a great character. And I think what's cool about HR is that he's becoming useful because he's really educated on the history of Team Flash, more so than Team Flash is to a degree. I think that's kind of cool. Like, in his pursuit to be an author, he's really, I guess, interested in learning everything he can for his book. And just that's funny because that's actually becoming really useful because he's just like a well of information, and he's like, oh, hey, remember when you guys fought Captain Cold? Could you use this idea here? And I really like that about HR. I think that's actually kind of cool. And it's funny because like he did explain himself as the idea guy, right? He just comes up with ideas and then other people execute on them. But he's actually holding true to that. Like he just comes up with ideas. How do I fix this problem? Or he goes back and he looks through how Flash has answered that question in the past, and then he uses that in the present, and that's actually pretty cool. Overall, this was an episode that I don't know how much sense a lot of things. Actually, hold on. Before I close up this episode, actually, I want to talk about Wally really quick. So Wally did get his powers, by the way. I just thought I should mention it, and that's kind of cool. It's really funny. So many people have their powers now. It's almost like you get Speed Force, you get Speed Force, you get Speed Force. Everyone just gets the Speed Force. It's just this abundant thing. It just kind of rains out of the sky, I feel like. But, whatever. Now we can get, Flash, Kid Flash, team up stuff, and hopefully that will be awesome. I hope we get that stuff. So I'm sure we will. So, but back on topic. So overall, this episode, it's not a great episode. In fact, there's a lot of things that don't really make sense there's a lot of things where maybe they don't make sense. Like I said, I laid it out earlier what I thought and what I didn't think was making sense about some of the sloppy writing in the earlier scenes with like the police officer at the police station, stuff like that. I laid all that out. Maybe I'm wrong about that. If I'm just confused, please explain to me what I'm wrong about in the comments, because that scene just really didn't make sense to me. I don't know. But thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace out.